Well, hello and welcome to the show. I'm glad you've joined us this week. We are going to be working on calm down, just getting this horse to relax his emotions. We want to do that through control of his head elevation. And we're going to be doing that on Discovering the Horseman Within.
Now the sun is rising slowly on the mountain you must climb, and the trail that takes you closer to the source. And you dream about the moment when you leave it all behind and climb up on that one true horse. That one true horse, the perfect partner built to ride. One true horse, a bond that cannot be denied. You would search forever just to have the chance to take a ride on one true horse. I'm gonna take a ride on one true horse.
When I think about a horse that's got high emotions and he's up and he's wound up and he's excited, then I want to think about what can cause a horse to calm down. Well, there is only one thing that every horse on earth does when it eats, drinks, and lays down, and that's calm down. Okay, so for a horse to put his nose down on the ground, he has to calm down. It's that simple. For him to graze, he's got to be calm. For him to drink, he's got to be calm. For him to look for a place to lay down, he has to be calm. All right, so what I want to do then is start driving my horse's nose to the ground and creating that calmness. This exercise can be done from the ground if you want. You can stand here and work beside the horse on the ground. If you've got a horse that's really bad about rearing up or really, really hyper and makes you a little bit nervous, you can do this exercise on the ground. I like to work on a horse's back for the simple reason that lots of times that's where you are when you run into a problem. So I'm going to work one side at a time, and I'm going to work it until I get a drastic difference in my horse. I'm going to start out just asking him to give to the bit and just soften his nose. Now he's had some practice with this, but you can see as soon as we start moving, this horse just starts wanting to go. He's just instantly wound. So I'm just going to hold this rein up above his ear, just like this, and I'm going to wait for him to pull the rein down, okay? The reason I hold it up is because he can't get above the bit this way. Right there, as soon as that nose comes down, I'm going to release him and I'll ride him over here. And I'm going to pick up on this rein again. I'm going to lift up on it. This way he can't get his head up above the bit. He's there. So to find a release, which is what he's looking for, he's finally going to go down. So he tries sticking his nose out. He tries going left. He tries going right. He tries everything he's ever learned. And finally, he takes his nose down. Now it's really not too difficult to get the horse consistently to put his ears about the level of the saddle horn. It takes a lot more effort to get starting and dropping down. And there comes a point here, I don't use this exercise on every horse, because simply said, on every horse, it's going to cause a horse to lean forward. It's going to cause a horse to put weight on his front end. So I only do it when I think I've got a horse that really needs it, and that the side effects, which would be the horse getting heavy on his forehand for a little while, are worth the value of getting this horse to actually relax and settle down his emotions. I'll pick that rein up again. I want him moving. I like him to be moving because that's where the problem is. So I want to get him moving, walking forward. Right there, drop that nose a little bit. I'll pick up on him again. Drop that nose a little bit. I'll pick up on him again. Drop that nose a little bit. I'll pick up on this rein again. Hold on to it. Now, I want to talk about working diligently, okay? Lots of times I run into students and they try this exercise and they pick the rein up once, and then they finally get the horse to give and they release and they wait and they pick the rein up again. You notice I release and about 10 to 15 seconds later, I'm picking up on that rein again. Just work at it here. There, he's putting that nose closer to the ground. Now I want to start thinking about that. Where am I getting closer to the ground? Is he starting to get his head down? You notice my hand isn't as far above his ears anymore. I start bringing my hand back because I don't want to have to ride down the trail reaching above his ears, riding like this all the time. That's real annoying. But you start out there so that this horse starts finding a way to find that release. And then I bring it back. If I need to, I'll take it up there. But I bring my hand back to the saddle horn. And I want to see this horse bring his nose down, closer to the ground every single time. Okay, I'm waiting on him. He's not giving there. Want to wait on him. This is one of those exercises where patience is a virtue. Okay, if you notice, we've got this horse, his head's down, about a foot from where it was. We've actually dropped down in a long ways. Now right there, that's where he shows you where he's really trained to carry his head. When you see his head come back up, then you notice that's where he's really trained to carry his head. So what I want to do is the second that his head starts to come back up on the rein, that's where I pick up on it again. So I'm holding right here. This horse is learning very quickly. If he wants me to get out of his mouth, he's got to lower his head. As soon as I get out of his mouth, he starts to bring his head back up. It's at that point right there that I reconnect with that rein and say, no, no, no. It's at the point that he lifts his head up that I pick that rein back up and say, no, 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 put your head back down. And the instant it starts to come up, I pick that rein up and say, no, put your head back down. That's good. Think about this. Can a horse put his nose on the ground and rear up? No, of course not. Some of you are sitting in your chair right now going, no, but he can put his nose on the ground and buck. Well, of course he can. But not if you control him. Not if you can tell him to put his nose on the ground. If you can tell him to put his nose on the ground, then he's given that control to you. Okay, so we're stuck right here. All of a sudden, if you notice, we've got this horse right there, but he's not going any lower. Well, Ken, how low do you want him? Well, I guarantee if you dropped a pile of oats on the ground right now, this horse wouldn't have any trouble eating them. Okay, you can look at the shape of him and know he eats plenty. So he's going to go eat. So I'm going to pick this up and say, hey, come on, let's keep that nose going down until we get it all the way to the ground. And you can see just in the few minutes from when I first got on him and he was wound up tighter than a 9-day clock for the first 30 seconds, now all of a sudden I'm actually having to push with my legs to keep him moving. Because as his nose goes down, he starts thinking about eating, drinking, or laying down. All three of those demand that his feet stop moving. Okay? Now he can graze and shuffle, but he doesn't graze on the run. Okay? So we're going to keep working on this. Now right there, his head came back up. You see his feet speed up. He's like, hey, I'm going to kind of break the pattern here. We're going to go a little faster. I hold on to it until he drops back down there. There. If you've got a horse that's wanting to jig with you out on the trail, you've got a horse that's spooking on the way home, this is the exercise you want to do right there. All of a sudden he kind of grabs himself. So what do? My response, I grab the saddle horn and scream, oh no, and hold on for dear life, which I've been known to do. Or I can pick up on this rein and say, hey, put your nose down. You've got nothing to be afraid of. Put your nose down. It's time to calm down. Okay? I want this cue to be so ingrained into this horse that when I need it, it's there. When he starts to get wound right there, I just pick that rein up and say, hey, put your nose on the ground. And you can see he right away starts to settle down. Something winds him up and just push him forward and get that nose down. Does he have to have a reason to wind up? Of course not. Horses are that animal that have tons and tons of fear without reason. okay? They don't need a reason to be afraid. It's unjustified, it's just who they are. Because that's how they've survived since God created them. They've survived by when they're afraid, they leave the country. So all he's got to do is suddenly have some unjustified fear cross his mind. It's like, think about it. You've been walking down a dark hallway and suddenly been creeped out, right? There's absolutely nothing there. There's nothing to be afraid of. Your mind just played a trick on you. Humans and horses aren't that different. We all live with these unjustified fears. So when that happens and all of a sudden he grabs himself, what I need to do is pick this bit up and say, hey, no, relax. Come back to class, it's okay. Put your nose down, there, that's better. Now you notice that nose only goes down and comes right back up. I want him to put it down there and carry it. What is my goal? What's enough? I want him to put that nose down there and leave it down there for 10 or 15 steps so that I know that when I put it down there, I can make it stay there. I'm adjusting his head elevation. Now, we're talking about calm down, but how about your high-headed horse? How about those of you that ride your high-headed horses and you go down the trail looking at the world through a pair of ears and it annoys you and you want your horse to carry his head lower? This exercise right here will lower this horse's head as far as you want it to be. From now on, your horse's head elevation is completely up to you. You determine where you want it to be. Look when I release the rein, how much slower it is for his head to come all the way back up. He's starting to think about carrying it down there. So let's talk about those of you who aren't getting the encouragement. You're going to do this exercise and you're going to start feeling like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. It's not working. Don't second guess yourself. Don't do that. Just keep saying, this is simple. There is only two things I have to worry about. Elevate the rein into the top corner of his mouth until he takes his head down. That's it. It's that simple. And if your horse isn't taking his head down, then you stay with it. When I first learned this exercise, I wasn't very perceptive. And so one of the things I did was ride along a rail fence, and I would work on it against a rail fence, and then I could tell if my horse dropped his head or not. You might want to do that. If you're starting to get a little bit discouraged and you're not sure he's really putting his head down, you might want to do that. I love it when that head comes back up because that's where you know where it's going to go when things go bad. That's your marker. That tells you where you really are in your training. If this horse throws his head, then you know when things get fast and furious, he's going to throw his head. It's that simple. He's going to throw his head. Right there. But look how quick we can regain the control. There was 3 steps with his nose down at a really nice low elevation. He's carrying it really nicely. There was 4 steps before he started to bring it back up. And I just set that as a goal for myself and I start counting so I know where I'm at. And sometimes you've got to release. If you feel him wanting to take his nose down, what does it feel like? It feels like he's wanting to take his nose down. It feels like he's wanting to pull his rein out of your hand. You're teaching this horse to pull on my hand. I am right now because he has to lower his head. We're going to bring it back up and fix it in a few minutes. But first of all, I have to establish a cue that causes him to lower his head. So I set these goals for myself and I challenge myself to discover how long can I actually keep his head down there. How many steps can I get? So if I got 3 steps, there was 4.5 before his nose started up, and when it started up, it didn't come up very high. Watch the difference when I go to his left rein, okay? When I pick up on that left rein, you see this horse start to get nervous and wound because we've only worked on one side. So you watch his head elevation on this side, it's up, You can see the whole difference in the way he's moving. He's back to saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure. He's not really leaving the country. This side, look how quick he drops that head as soon as I touch that rein, takes his nose back down there nice and soft. Just a nice, simple exercise. You've got to be willing to kind of do the same thing over and over again, repetition. Remember, horse training is not about aha moments. It's about muscle memory developed through practice. That's what it's about. Giving the horse the right answer and allowing him to practice it until it becomes a habit. That's what I want. I want to build in my horse that habit so that he knows the correct answer when the time comes, when he needs the correct answer. So I'm going to practice this at home so that when I'm out on the trail, I can pick up on that rein and just drop that nose down there. There. Okay, we've got it down pretty consistent. Let's see how many steps. Let's get him 1, 2. Well, that wasn't real good. All of a sudden, things are catching his attention outside of the arena. So this is a good time to work through this. So, hey, get your nose down there. Get your nose down there. Nothing else matters, get your nose down there. One, 2, 3. We're still really not getting beyond 3 before he wants to come back up, but we're getting 3 pretty consistently. So I'm going to increase the motivation a little bit by just lifting on that rein a little more assertively and saying, hey, no. Every time that nose starts to come back up, you get that nose back down there. I'm going to kind of get after it a little bit and say, no, get that nose back down there. Put it back down there right away. Put that nose down there. He's saying, Ken, 3 steps is all I'm going to give. So, no. If that's the case, then we need to be a little more prompt in telling you to put it back down there. There. I'm getting a little better. And it's a 1 rein exercise, 1 side at a time. Okay? All right. Now, how do we bring his head back up? Because now every time I touch the rein, Ken, my horse takes his head to the ground, which is good. That's what we asked for, right? All right, here's what I do. This is the cool part about head elevation. It's completely up to you. When I pick up on the left rein, his head's kind of now actually a little more relaxed. Overall, he's a little calmer. And I say, well, where would I really like his head? Well, I'd really like it kind of at wither level. So when I pick up on the right rein, I just wait, and when that nose comes back up, nice and soft, right here, he's taking it down. Right there, when it comes back up, I release it. Well, how do I have a cue to calm him down? I can always go back here and drive his nose down. I can always, from now on, lift that rein. So when I'm out on the trail and he's hypering out and he's nervous, I can always go right out here, and that's gonna cue that horse to take his head down. But now as I bring his head back up in reference to the bit, I just set a hold of the rein. I can set my hand right here on the saddle horn and wait, and when he brings that head up where it belongs, that's too low there, I'll just wait for him. He's looking for that response. When it comes up where I want it to elevate just a little bit. Every time it's gonna come up the same way it went down. As it comes up a little bit, I'm gonna release it. Only now, my hand position is gonna be exactly the opposite. Instead of having to reach out here, I'm gonna reach right here, and I'm gonna hold onto this rein, and I'm gonna ask him to flex in the pole as he brings his nose up. So that each time I touch that rein, I get softness. I want this horse right there. Perfect. When I pick up on this rein, there he's too low. Oh, as he comes up, I want him to stay flexed in that pole, right there, and I can release him. I can pick this rein up now and go right here, say, hey, no, you need to go down. Okay, there's my down cue. Here's where I want my horse all the time, and he'll build this habit right there. And I release him where I want him to build the habit. Remember, your horse will never be any more consistent than you are. If you are sort of here and there and up and down, that's the best your horse is going to be. You want to stay the same all the time. I can't tell you enough about being consistent, especially in your hand positioning. If your hand is here and there and all over the place, that changes the way that bit feels in that horse's mouth. I want it to feel the same every time. I'm going to lift my hand here. That horse is going to take his head down right there. I'm going to put my hand right here, and I'm going to wait till he brings his head up here where I need it, right there. I'm going to release him. And if I'm consistent enough, all of a sudden I'm going to have a trained horse. Thanks for being with us again this week, and until next time, may God bless the trails you ride.
For more information about Ken McNabb Clinics, appearances, and products, visit kenmcnabb.com.
One true horse, a perfect partner built to ride. One true horse, a bond that cannot be denied. You would search forever just to have the chance to take a ride on one true horse. Gonna take a ride on one true horse.